Electronic Arts, a big publishing house in the gaming industry, and one that, for what it's worth, has been around for decades and has earned itself twice the award of being one of the worst companies in the U.S. There's a lot of mixed feelings when we talk about Electronic Arts. The relationship that most gamers have with this publishing house is frustrating, to say the least. You know, they have a track record of taking some really talented and amazing studios over the years that have developed some of the most iconic franchises out there and have turned them into these, you know, very money-hungry, profiteering machines that if that studio doesn't sell enough copies, if it doesn't bring enough players, if it doesn't make enough sales, shut it down, you know? And I could list out the amount of studios that they've done this to over the years, where they bought them out, they make that team create something that really doesn't represent what they do, and, you know, try to shove in as much predatory monetization into it. And then if it doesn't work out, it's not really EA's fault, right? And the studio suffers for it. So here we are, we're looking at Respawn Entertainment. And this is a studio that's been around for quite some time. They were initially known for releasing and developing Titanfall. And this was a team that was actually comprised of former developers from Call of Duty. So, you know, it's a very talented team of developers. And over the years, they only ever focused on making Titanfall, and that was kind of their, you know, franchise and the universe that they were going for. And then they decided to collaborate with Electronic Arts to develop basically the next big battle royale that we know today as Apex Legends. And this has been a battle royale game that's growing strong since its release back in 2019, but at the expense of Respawn Entertainment never coming out with a sequel to Titanfall 2, which is really frustrating. I've talked about this in the past, where we've seen reports that, yes, they were working on Titanfall 3, but EA just would not let them continue, or they've just downright canceled the entire production and said, you know, just double down and focus on Apex Legends. That's our bread and butter. It makes $1 billion a year. Don't stray that path. And over the years, it's somewhat worked. But even the player base behind Apex Legends have complained. There were content creators who straight up just quit making content for Apex Legends because they just felt things have changed far too much. The game has become heavily monetized. It's just filled with so much predatory monetization business models to the point that it's even alienating its core player base. And so now we're looking at Respawn Entertainment, the studio that has, over the years, done some great things. You know, besides Titanfall, they have been working on the Star Wars Jedi series, which I think is one of the better Star Wars adaptations out there, movie or video game otherwise. And now there's even news that they have reportedly canceled an unannounced game that had been in development for the past year. This unannounced incubation project, as described by former production coordinator Emily Evans in a LinkedIn post, was scrapped earlier this week. While specific details about the game are scarce, a job listing from Respawn in 2023 suggested the project was a multiplayer FPS in its early stages. Makes you wonder, was that a Titanfall game? Or was it a much smaller scale FPS project within the Titanfall universe, the same way that Apex Legends was? Most likely that was the case. Now, if anybody was wondering if this was maybe Titanfall 3, an attempt to make Titanfall 3, the director behind Titanfall, Steve Furukawa, said, who was also leading a small team when he was working on Titanfall back in 2023, and he kind of leaves the possibility that this canceled project might have been linked to one of those efforts. However, it remains very unclear if the canceled game was part of that work or something entirely different. And so it definitely makes you wonder, why did they go halfway with these projects and then straight up cancel them? You know, including the Star Wars FPS game from last year, which was rumored to feature a Mandalorian protagonist. And now you have these cancellations that follow a period of layoffs at Respawn, leading to a growing concern among fans about the Titanfall franchise as a whole. Many are now more uncertain about the future of Titanfall, and which has only really been kept alive through Apex Legends. It's unfortunate. This is an amazing franchise. I'd say there's still nothing like what we've experienced with Titanfall. People vouch it is one of the best FPS games out there, and yet no sequel, no spiritual successor. There are some studios that have tried to emulate it to some extent, but there was nothing like it out there, and there's nothing like it now, to be honest. I know there's Mecha Break coming out later this year, which again is taking a lot of inspiration from Titanfall, but it's still not Titanfall. We'll have to see. I mean, Respawn Entertainment still has a few projects that are keeping them busy, but nothing that would, I would say, separate them from their biggest purpose. Their main reason they exist in the industry is continuing to keep Apex Legends alive. And here's where we are now, 5-6 years later, since the craze of Battle Royale and that big genre, the boom of that genre. And we wonder to ourselves, was it really worth it? For us to, for these publishers to jump the gun, try to bank on this trend, and just do nothing creatively different or distinct from one another, and just, hey, it makes money, it brings in the players, let's just keep doing it without too much thought. And we're in an industry now that I feel at times, especially from the big AAA publishers and studios, there's a creative stagnation, until the next big breakthrough of some kind. I don't know if it's a genre, a new subgenre, whatever it may be. Believe me, they'll jump into it as fast as possible. Just like when they did Warzone and they did Apex Legends and Fortnite. So we're always wondering, what is the next big genre that's going to cause these publishers to push the envelope? But until then, all we can do is really wait and see. We're going to take a short break because coming up next, we have Big Hass in the building. He's going to tell us a little bit about the Ramadan special hour that's following right after my show, where you can win some cash prizes. So stay locked and stay tuned. You know it, to Pulse 95.